to do an inbox off the cuff, and we're going the hell to Portland to find a place to live. But we love you guys so much that we're making an inbox right now. So Inbox is this thing on our website. You can go and ask us all kinds of different questions, and maybe once a year we'll do a video. But now we've promised to do 2 per month based upon the Patreon. So thank you guys on Patreon. That's really awesome of everyone out there to help enable us to create content. One of the reasons we can do multiple per month is with some of that money, as soon as we get settled in Portland, we'll hire some other people to do some of the other work that's taking up a lot of our time, like product videos and that sort of thing.
It's on the website. If you go to forum.techsyndicate.com and you just go in the drop-down menu, community, Inbox.exe, and that's where the majority of these questions usually reside.
I guess if you go straight here, the easiest way to do it is I usually just click categories and then scroll down, like you said, to the community area, and then you'll see the inbox. It's not too difficult to get to if you're a regular, but that's mostly who we want to talk to, are the regulars. Some guy on YouTube who doesn't like one thing we do, screw off some guy on YouTube who doesn't like one thing. Go watch someone else who doesn't do the one thing you don't like.
I actually make bets on the kind of comments that I get on YouTube. I won't tell you what the bets are, otherwise I'm going to skew the results.
I don't even read them. Anyway, let's start off with the first question here. This one, it was from September 26th, so we haven't done an inbox in a while, other than the one I did with Pistol, but this one made me angry because this bastard here was calling me out. Good old Shredder 2600. Dear Logan, you have complained numerous times about the treatment of Chinese factory workers, but... Dun, 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 dun. That's the ellipsis. That's the sound it makes. Where are the shirts on epicpants.com made? They better be made in the USA. Shove it up your ass, buddy. You cannot tell me where anything better be made. What if I decided to make them in Germany or make them in the netherworld? I don't know. Where are they made? Okay. Everything is produced in Vermont, so it's up there. We got Epic John up there in Vermont, and he's doing all the prints there. Now, the items, some of them are made in the USA, like some of our cups and mugs and that sort of thing. A lot of those are actually made in the USA because the shipping to get them over here from another country is exorbitant. So a lot of that stuff is made in the USA. Some of it's made in China. Some of it's made in Malaysia. I think a lot of the shirts, I think this shirt, as a matter of fact, was made in Malaysia. And then they come over here and we put our prints on them.
Now, also, some of the things that are made, actually, the things that are made in China, we've been to the factory. So it's not like we make complaints about Chinese factory workers and how they're treated. That's kind of a blanket generalization, but we've gone to these factories and we've actually seen and met some of the employees, met some of the people making this stuff. So it's not like we're just blindly going dart to a wall. That manufacturer that I can't pronounce looks good. So, we actually go there and source this stuff specifically for the store. So
someone's going to call us out on that. I'm sure there's a couple items on there that we haven't actually been to the factory of, but when we make stuff, we tend to, like mouse pads and that sort of thing, especially the technology stuff that we're into. We go and look at the factories, and when we're going to, we're getting ready to go to China, we will go and scout it out and make sure the situation is cool. And as far as the human beings are being cared for and, being paid a living wage, which is different in every country, I'm okay with it, but you're going to find hypocritical things everywhere. Even if we go and get products sourced, someone's going to be like, okay, well, you got a mouse pad made. Where was the rubber made? Well, I'm not sure where the rubber was made. We need to go take a look. And where was the actual fabric from? Well, some of it's from Mississippi. It was sent to Malaysia where it was combed, and then it was taken to a factory here where it was refined and made into cloth, where it's now being used for the mouse pad. So it's a bit difficult. The world economy is such that it's difficult to trace any one thing. Like you had Apple, right? A lot of the tin that was being used in their devices was coming from, tin mines and that sort of thing, where children were standing in really shitty conditions, digging through like sand and muck to get the tin. I don't know, Apple might have been aware of that, but they might not have been.
If we had the budget to actually go and, find out and follow exactly where every single one of these things comes from, so I think we would do that. We'd make a video on that.
Yeah, I would do too.
I would do that. Not so much like, well, let's make a video. I would like to make a documentary cataloging exactly how, where, and why these things get made, what happens. And if it's appalling, I'm not going to be there like, buy this stuff, it's great. And by the way, the manufacturing process is appalling. No, I'm going to blatantly say, like, you know what, screw that. Are you guys okay buying this stuff, knowing that this is how it's being made? Because I'm feeling a little weird. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Almost everyone who's throwing fucking stones has a device in their pocket that has some connection to something they would disagree with.
Also, when we're sitting here complaining about factory workers in China and how they're treated, we're not encouraging factories in China to treat people like that. We're trying to call it out.
A lot of people will look at a factory anywhere in the world and be like, wow, what shitty conditions. And that's almost a very first world kind of way to look at things. We used to have tons of factories. We still have some factories, but we used to be way more industrious. Now we're just going more and more in debt, and we're not really making as many things as we used to. But the factories here were the same. I mean, it's like there's no difference. Humans doing repetitive tasks. That's the thing.
An assembly line is an assembly line is an assembly line. Sometimes it's made by a computer, sometimes it's made by a robot, sometimes it's made by a donkey, sometimes it's made by children, in which case then I have a problem with it. I'm like, wait, why do you have 10-year-olds doing this? Other than the fact that they're probably the most dexterous with their hands to do it, that why are they the ones doing it? They shouldn't be doing it. They should be in school learning something.
I want to mention our J American brand hoodies are made in Pakistan, a place that I actually do want to go because the Himalayas there look really interesting. I quite enjoy the food there, and I've worked with a few people from there. When I used to do a lot of web design, I seemed to always end up with the Pakistan people when I was like, hey, I need some help doing a bunch of code. Can you guys help me? It was like the Pakistan people, and we'd always joke around about mountains and culture and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't mind going there and checking out what's going on.
I know a lot of Pakistanis. I know a lot of people from this fun country that we don't know how to pronounce, and a lot of them are metalheads.
Interesting. Well, I guess great. Cold weather, mountains, and all that kind of thing maybe makes sense.
I know a lot of them in New York. They were all of them metalheads.
All right, on to the next controversial question that I have not fully read yet. I haven't even read this one. This is from Jack and Loop. Dear Logan, don't make me out to be an Nvidia fanboy when I saw that I much prefer the green team's hardware over the red team's. Between GeForce Experience software, quieter cards, lower power consumption, and the benefits of CUDA simply makes more sense for me. You sound like a marketing person, but let's keep on reading. With that said, I clearly see the disadvantages of AMD leaving the market and was wondering, how can I support the continued existence of AMD, which prevents a monopoly, which we all know. So, he basically wants to know how to prevent that. Also, love the show, yada, 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 yada. All right, so how can you...
That's actually one of the, well, like I said, it sounds like first part, it sounds like a marketing guy. The second part, it sounds like somebody who actually takes into consideration that while I may like this and I prefer to use this, I could see this company no longer being in the marketplace being a really bad thing. How do you encourage and how do you keep AMD from leaving the marketplace? Unfortunately, you buy AMD products.
And listen, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. AMD, I said this about a year ago. For DirectX 12, AMD is going to be really good. And we see that with the new drivers. Just wait a minute for the new drivers. The latest version of the drivers was locking the fans, some of the fans at 20% and burning the cards out, which just came out like a week ago. It's their brand new AMD Crimson. It's a new platform. It's not the Catalyst Control Center anymore. It's nice and new. And once they get that fixed, it's adding like 20 to 40% performance in Fallout 4. It's actually now up there with the 980 Ti and a lot of benchmarks. So DirectX 12 and AMD are going to play well together.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about that. The one problem I had when it comes to like this whole Crimson thing and it locking the fans and all these things, that's one of those like facepalm worthy bugs. Huge You're bug. Like, how did you miss this?
Well, if we had more budget, it's like...
It's one of those things where it's like, really, how did you miss this? How did this make it through the beta phase and you missed by, like, well, my fan got locked. It's like, were people just not stress testing it? Did you not send it to me first? I mean, give me a really nice card and I will test the crap out of it.
Some people are going to call hypocrite on me already because I have a 980 Ti in my main rig. Let me say something about Nvidia products, and I do not support a lot of their business practices. I do like how fast their cards are. I have not purchased an Nvidia product in... I don't remember the last time I purchased one, but typically these things are, given out as a review sample or something like that. And then a lot of times we'll either like give them away or sell them or do something with them or send them back. A lot of times they have to go back to the menu,
back to the vendor that gives them to them. So, one of the other things that I want to mention is that we're fans of technology. Whether or not it's AMD or Nvidia, I would rather like have both of them in my system just to figure out if I can
with the new APIs.
And I can test out and use one for one thing. CUDA has got its advantages to a certain extent, but the OpenCL platform and the context of how it's supposed to work is actually pretty awesome as well. But to answer your question of how do you get AMD, keep AMD from leaving the market, encourage other people to buy them. If you're like, look, if you're looking for a card and it's this one or this one, and you're looking at a price difference, you're weighing it up, and the only difference is I like AMD versus Nvidia or vice versa. Buy an AMD card.
AMD is still pretty good for budget. I mean, Nvidia's got some pretty damn nice budget options as well.
Buy AMD APUs.
I have a really good idea.
Build a NAS and use an AMD CPU in that one.
Specifically Radeon stuff. Here's an idea. So you have the hardware pass-through with Linux that you can do. If you build a Linux rig, put an Nvidia and an AMD card in there, and just let each of them, one of them run Windows and one of them run Linux. That'd be a good idea. The other thing is,
I like that idea.
You can also put two of them in a system. Now DirectX 12 will work with cats and dogs
living
together, lions and lambs. It's craziness. So yeah, you can do that kind of stuff now. It hurts your brain, but that's really going to be something that we'll see as DirectX 12 matures and more games come out for that. You'll see more of that, but you can do that kind of thing. And some games, if you just want to run them and not in, well, I guess it's kind of going to be difficult to discourage people from going full on, like SLI or full on Crossfire, but whatever. If you care about the market and you want to do something, that's an option.
Make a virtual machine run something else and put in an AMD card as a dedicated graphics card for that. Even if it's just another, even if you're running a Windows VM inside a Windows machine, I don't know why you do that, but if you do that, and you can drop the AMD card in there.
Okay, this is kind of an interesting question here from Velho Joel.
Or is it Velhoyal? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what.
I guess if it's just in English.
Or is it Joel?
Velho
Joel. You're gonna just send me an audio clip because I'm gonna smash my head into the desk.
Right, your name is Lemons from now on.
Lemons.
Because that's a lemon-colored thing. I don't know. You've a big bunch of programmers in your audience, and you have these issues which make the hop over to Linux harder for you. Why don't you deploy your army of programmers to do something awesome for the open source community, which will allow you yourself to create content on Linux box with open source tools? That's an interesting idea. I've got this strange thing where even if someone's creating open source software, if they're doing it for me, I really want to make sure that they're paid, and I'm not in a position to be able to pay a lot of people. So what I'm doing right now is we're making the video game, and that's where I'm putting some of the money from just the Zweihander album sales. That's where that's going. I'm not cutting into any Patreon money or anything like that. It's only that. So that's where a lot of my personal resources are going. I'm not opposed to the idea of eventually getting to a point where we all are able to push interesting open source projects just by helping to fund them and being like, hey, we need to make this interface better or something like that. And I don't think it should just be for me.
Well, I think specifically he's talking about like the creative stuff that you guys,
right.
So like we use Adobe Premiere, and there's a lot of reasons why we use it. There's a lot of reasons why we don't like it, and there's a lot of reasons why we're comfortable with it, and a lot of it has to do with longevity, and it's something that we've used forever. I think that a Premiere and After Effects is still a really good tool. I wouldn't trade them in for Final Cut Pro, which people would swear by Final Cut Pro, and I'm like,
is that still a thing? I thought it was like Final Cut Basic now. I thought they
dumbed
it down so much.
That's how long it's been since I've even thought about that. I just mentioned it because it's another commercial product that's available on a different platform. And the Linux stuff, the open source stuff. So anyway, so in this case here, if I actually could say, army of programmers that we have out in Tech Syndicate land, go forth and contribute to some of these projects, Kden Live, that's one right there that somebody mentioned. So let's grab that one and go with it.
I tried Kden Live for a while, and Nixie Pixel and I were talking about it. It's a really good alternative, and it's the most similar as far as the layout and workflow goes to Premiere. It's clunky compared to Premiere for sure, like very clunky compared to Premiere, but it's like you're settling for number one. I threw my 4K footage at it, and it just went no. And that was on my machine with GPU drivers and everything else. It just 4K really. It just died. Is that a
codec issue? Is that what is the issue? And if it's a codec thing, some of those codecs need to be licensed, and because they're legit, you have to license them.
It might have been, but the 1080p stuff ran just fine, and I thought it was using the same H.264 codec there. So, and doesn't Ubuntu come with H.264 out of the box? I don't even know, but yeah. And then there's the other one that's free if you're doing 720p Lightworks. Free if you're only doing 720p with no codecs. But then you have to pay. It's a yearly fee. It's lower, but if I'm going to pay...
But again, that yearly fee, it's not very much. It's not so much... Mainly. But it's basically, you're paying for the licensing for the codecs and whatnot. And it's not too dissimilar in the pricing model to Premiere.
It's cheaper.
But the problem we ran into when we tried to use Lightworks was that its workflow is so counterintuitive to what we're used to that the learning curve for us to get in there and do that is almost too much.
I think one of the major problems here is that Linux, it can do a lot of things, but the creative community and the developers making stuff for the creative community have never looked at Linux and said, this is our platform. They mostly look at OS X and say, this is our platform. In Windows, we have to because there's just a lot of people on it, but it's an afterthought. And therefore, even my music programs for FL Studio runs great in Wine. It runs perfectly. But a lot of the premium audio VSTs and things that I pay for, I went out and bought them because, I see Zweihander as being like a little business endeavor. I mean, it's a lot of fun and it's creativity. It's a good outlet for me. But if I want the better sounds and stuff like that, I pay for them. And a lot of those just do not work on Linux. So you're trying to force stuff that wasn't designed to work on a platform to work there. Meanwhile, you're not going to be able to do the same kind of like networking and just, giant infrastructure tasks that you would be doing with Linux. You can't do that on Windows and OS X. You may be on OS X, maybe, but not even
on
really.
OS X. You kind of get one of half the world there, but you can develop it on an OS X machine and transition that development process to a Linux machine a lot easier than Windows. Because with Windows, you basically have to create a Linux machine or a Linux VM, or you use the server and you develop on the server. So you're not actually developing it on Windows if you're developing things inside for and on a Linux environment.
So I always feel like I'm just forcing things to work in an environment that they just never really wanted to be. They don't feel right in that environment. I much prefer Linux just from day-to-day regular stuff, and I love it for gaming whenever there's a game that works on it. So I'm probably going to do the hardware pass-through thing, get 2 graphics cards in my machine very soon, and do most of my stuff in Linux, and whenever I need to pop in and do something creative, I'll open up Windows inside Linux and just do it.
So otherwise, army of people, Sinalera branched off there. That was an original project. It was nice.
Well,
but it's a little
kind of a joke now, but
it's a little clunky. Lumiera was the fork of it that was supposed to be like a complete rewrite from ground up. So if you want to go and start helping with a project and C and all that jazz code, go check out Lumiera.
Privity was nice too. I've tried all of them, literally. Blender is the most powerful, but it's also steep learning curve because that's like a big. I'm not really a 3D guy. It's a 3D program, and there's also an editing interface.
It's not too far shot from like After Effects, being that it's got a timeline interface, but it's not specifically designed for just timeline editing and
If you guys want to give me a couple months off, I will go take some classes and learn Blender. All right, next question up here is for Land Syndicate. So we've got Land Syndicate coming up. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that real quick. It's coming up on April 15th. You guys all better be there. It's in Seattle at a freaking airplane hangar. It's going to be freaking awesome because freaking. Go ahead and get your tickets. But anyway, we have a question here about transportation.
Specifically, he's talking about PC transportation. Yep. Is traveling across the entire continental United States to attend Land Syndicate in April. Transporting his full ATX rig, which is a big case. Great. That's going to be awesome, but difficult to move. Take out the CPU cooler and the GPU, checking in the case in its own box, packed full with anti-static packing foam. No hard drive. Confident it'll be fine. Just wondering about when or if we return to the hotels each night, will we be expected to take our entire rigs back and forth? No,
but we are not responsible if anything is lost or stolen, though we will have people at each exit. And I'm not sure if we're going to do, there's different ways to do it. PDX land, you just come and go as you please, and everything's really honest and nice and good. No one really cares. There's no one checking your backpack as you're coming and going. Then you go to QuakeCon, and it's like full security going into the courthouse type thing where they're checking your backpacks, and they put a tag on each individual machine. We may do that. So if you decide to take your machine out when you leave, we might check and make sure that it's your machine. But we may figure out some way to do that. Let us know if you guys care about that. I think it's a good security measure. But we're not going to be held responsible for anything. Everything's at your own risk and all that sort of thing.
And lock your computer. Regardless of what you do, lock the thing. BIOS password protected if you need to, just to make sure that nobody can mess with it.
Yeah, we'll probably have a guy just wandering around changing everyone's desktop background to something extraordinarily offensive.
A lot of cases have a lot of old cases. I don't know about a lot of the new ones, but a lot of old cases used to have like a metal tab that would stick out the back when you put the back of the case on. It would just stick out the back. You can put a lock on that to make sure nobody opens it up and gets into it. I hope that our community at this party is not going to be the type of malicious assholes that would try to steal your fellow community members' equipment.
You guys have to remember, if you are an asshole, I'm not joking when I said that I'm going to make people sign a waiver that if they get belligerent, if they're assholes, I'm going to knock them out. I've got some moves I want to try.
Yeah.
But I'm serious. I'll knock you guys out. Like, it's our fucking event. And if you come and you mess with it, you're messing with our event. And I don't do things. The system's kind of messed up. So I'm going to make you sign a waiver saying that I'm allowed to work outside the system by knocking you out. And I will. And I'm bigger than you.
And don't push it. Come on. We all want to have fun.
No one's gonna do that. But I wanted to make sure that it's clear that that's what's gonna happen.
But really, we all want to have fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're not expected to take your rigs back and forth.
Why did I do that?
To your hotel. That would be obnoxious and absurd. It is going to be, it's the 21 and over section is going to be fenced in, so it's not like you're going to be very easily moving stuff in and out.
Yeah.
And if people want to do that, if you bring in a laptop, if you're bringing like one of the big desktops, like I've got the big MSI Dragon Edition, it's a big laptop. If you just want to pack that up and go, take it with you, knock yourself out, do it. But I don't expect that to be a big issue. I did have another question. I don't think you've got it pulled up here. That somebody was asking about bringing your own network switch. I would say no, because if you plug it into my network and you start causing a problem,
Do I get to punch him? I want to punch him.
You can, yeah. I'm gonna cut your cable and be like, all right, guys,
I'm not gonna punch.
I'm gonna take your network switch away. You're gonna get one port. We've only got a limited bandwidth. We get limited amount of network connectivity. Don't abuse it. It's fine. Bring your own network cable. Bring your own. Bring about a 5-6 foot.
Bring longer than that. I mean, bring a good long one just in case.
Yeah, just in
case you're sitting at the end of the table.
But not like 100 feet. That's gonna be ridiculous.
Could.
We could, but then I'm gonna make you cut it and put a new end on it. That's what I'm gonna make you do.
Well, that'll be a learning experience.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, come on down here. We'll learn how to make an evil RJ45 cat.
45 cat.
Yep.
So this one is from Count Spadula. Spadula Ablungara.
Count Spadula?
Yeah. So he's just got his desk mat in the mail, the Earth logo, loves it and all that crap. Thanks. You guys are awesome. So he wants to know if we're going to make taller ones, like for the full-size desk. And then I just wanted to address this because that's like the number one thing I've been getting requests for is more desk mats and more sizes and more shapes. A full-on giant desk mat. Like, how big do you need, man? Do you want like a full-on... Just give us the exact measurements of your table, which he did there. And he wants us to make a huge desk mat. The thing about that is that I feel like the size that we have is about correct because... I don't know. It fits most people's stuff, like your mouse and your keyboard. If you make it too big, it's going to get in some people's way.
Yeah, you're going to end up with your monitor sitting on it or something else sitting on top of it.
Monitor half on it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is that it's supposed to be underneath your keyboard, a little bit more on either side of it, and you extend out till you have the actual mouse pad area move here. I don't think we're going to make it. Somebody else was asking if we were going to make like hard ones too.
I'm looking into hard ones. The place that we're using right now, if you guys saw Joker Schlunt's video, he did a test. We went and tested these out ourselves.
Of the ones that he had.
Out of the ones that he had. I'm sure there's one
And
out there. But ours was pretty good up there.
And he was using, it was a Meonix sensor.
But it beat the Meonix mouse mat.
Which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was like, cool.
All right, guys.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, that lingonberry jam was amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
I'm not joking. I like it. It's all gone. I particularly liked it on breakfast meats. We're going to get more desk mats. I'm already getting a bunch more. I didn't realize how many people wanted them, so we're going to get a lot more as far as that goes. Big ones, different sizes. I want to know everyone wants the PCB, so we got to talk to him and get a full-on desk mat version.
I've talked to him, and I will
I'm throwing money at him, so...
Yeah, I will reinforce
Well, reinforce it with some money.
Oh, yeah, we'll send him some cash. I was like,
Yeah,
here,
of course
man.
he gets
Here,
cash,
just put some 20 in your back pocket. Hey, can you get this for me,
No,
man?
not
We
20,
need
like a few hundred.
We'll put some 20s in his back pocket,
Make him go fast. Fast.
All right, well, we'll talk to him. I'll talk to him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
his friend is the one doing the PCB design. If you guys like it, say.
Yeah, that was actually.
We allowed to say who it is, so people say thanks.
Yeah, just he goes by. I think it's Sparky, Sparky or Sparkman is what his handle is on the forum.
So yes, say thanks to Sparkman if you guys like the PCB mouse pad design. Hey, how about Max CFM? Good old Max. What are your thoughts on Intel's OmniPath plans? And thoughts about them getting into network space beyond NICs?
I don't have any thoughts on that yet.
I don't either.
In all reality, it's one of those. It's speculative. It's either going to be great or it's going to suck. I mean, there's my thoughts on it.
Best budget NAS for all.
That can handle Plex encoding
Let's
and
move
HD
on, 'cause
video.
that's going to be a whole separate video.
Yeah, there isn't one. When you start talking about a NAS, you're talking about multiple hard drives. A hard drive, I mean, we just built
I guess
the 10 drive NAS that you built is 10 drives, and those drives, even at $100 a piece for like a 4 terabyte drive, that's $1,000 just for hard drives.
New rule: never use the word budget again, because budget doesn't mean shit to me. Use an actual number, like for under $1,000, under $1,500, under $500. That is your budget. Budget could mean anything. My budget for a house could be $1 million. Does that mean it's a budget house? No, that's just what my budget is. What people seem to think budget means cheap, and maybe it could to some people, but it doesn't. It's one of those words like
it's
edgy.
It's one of those terms that has been used not necessarily by you guys, but by like the media. Goes, when you're on a budget. I'm like, everyone's on a flipping budget. Everyone. Except for those random, no, even the multi-billionaires, they get the most frugal budgets you can possibly think of.
They've got a yacht budget. Like, okay, well, should I buy the $30 million yacht? What's going to be the yearly running cost? $2 mil? $4 mil?
But I really like the $34 million yacht. I get an extra two feet off of that yacht there. And
I'll pay for a brand new Linux. Why is this millionaire talking?
But no,
like
seriously, when you start looking at a NAS, the problem is that you'll buy like even if you get one of the Thecuses or you get like a Synology or any of these other brand names that you got out there, you're gonna buy the enclosure. No drives come with that. So even if you buy a 5-drive bay NAS for $600, you got to put 5 drives in that, and those 5 drives are going to run you anywhere between $80 a piece to $140 a piece.
He wants to do Plex media and HD encoding. I said we weren't going to answer this, but we're kind of answering it. You're going to need the Intel Atom 8-core processors. If you can find something that has one of those, that'll do Plex and HD video encoding over the network. That'll be fine. Anyway,
we'll make a whole video on that. But like Nosferatu is that video. It really is.
Okay, how viable would a media NAS be running off a bunch of old 20 to 80 gigabyte IDE drives? You'd have to get controller cards.
He's got 2 questions here. How viable is it? Not. Those drives could die at any given moment. They might not, but they could.
It's like asking your grandmother to run a marathon.
She could keel over at any moment. She might not. She might surprise us all. But how would you hook them up?
She would be on the news.
She would be on the news, absolutely. And we'd all be cheering for her because that kicks ass.
Look at that old woman sharing
the video.
We would.
If you build an 8-drive IDE NAS and you can actually get the software to work on it, I will applaud you.
And it'll get 1 million hits on YouTube.
It would. So now, how would you even hook them up? You're going to need IDE controller cards because you're going to take, if you've got a motherboard that's got 2 IDE slots, if you're lucky, you can still boot off a USB. If you're not, you're screwed. But you're going to need a bunch of PCI, not PCI Express. You're going to need a bunch of PCI IDE controller cards. Ugh. Because I don't think I haven't seen a PCI Express IDE controller card. Somewhere it's going to be expensive. Anyway, you'd have to get a couple of those because IDE has only got 2 drives per controller.
Is there a network technology you think had been or will be overrated or overlooked in the mainstream? Network technology you think? So basically an underrated or overlooked network technology in the mainstream.
In the mainstream?
That's a question you have to kind of think about.
Is there a network technology you think has been overrated or overlooked?
Wait a second, overrated?
That will be overrated or overlooked. It's like those are
2 opposites.
It's like, is it going to be really, really awesome, or that's no one's going to notice it?
Is that what he meant?
Or is it going to be really crappy and it's going to be really... I think InfiniBand was overrated. It was something that was really neat when it came out, and it was like, yeah, and it just got circumvented by stuff that was bigger, better, stronger, faster. How do I ditch my Comcast all-in-one if I have their VoIP service? You just hang up on them. Why would you even care about
their VoIP service. All right. Well, maybe he's got a phone account that he really, really needs now.
Well, you need the phone number. You don't necessarily need the account. You can get that phone number to anything.
Google Voice, right?
You can get the phone number moved over to Google Voice. You get the phone number moved over to any VoIP provider. You can get the phone number moved over to your cell phone in some markets.
Let's give him a specific here. Now, what I would do is I'd probably move it over to... Well, Google Voice is one thing because they're going to monitor what you're doing. If you're okay with that, then whatever. Could you move this over to something that's less than Comcast? Probably going to be about $40 a month or more. Probably for Comcast. I'm just guessing.
It really depends on what you're using it for. But if you're not using it for anything, if you are using it like business style, There's a lot of business VoIP providers that you can get, and then you just don't even need to bother. If you're trying to get rid of internet, then VoIP would kind of need to go out the window anyway.
Yeah, I mean, well, you could send it. You could get the WRT 54G. You can install. Can't you install the freaking phone system on those?
You have to. Well, no, those ones you'd have to have a very.
You probably need something a little more powerful.
A little.
Than that.
Yeah, there's this very specific one you'd need for it to work right. Otherwise, I mean, you can get it can be installed on.
FreeBSD. What is it? FreeNAS?
No, not free. Well, you can
Run
actually
it as a jail?
you can install Asterisk on FreeNAS,
That's right, that's
and
what
you can
I'm
also install Asterisk on PFSense.
Last one. Any hardware firewall suggestions for home network protection? The easiest one I would think would be just a PFSense box that you build yourself, because PFSense was built to be a hardware firewall.
That's what somebody said right there. Build yourself a PFSense box. It is. You can just get it. Go look on eBay. Find an old Dell Optiplex, like the really small microcomputers. You can find them half the time they're broken, and you can pick them up for like $50. They'll have like a decent sized CPU in it. Get them from wherever. There's HP's got a couple models that you can pick up, and you can just get really small, like they're bookshelf computers. They're teeny tiny. They're meant for like office spaces and such. And you can get them. They've got some decent hardware in there, and then just buy an extra network card, probably an Intel, and slot it in there, and you're good to go. And there you go, you have hardware firewall.
It's going to act as your hardware firewall, but I'd also recommend probably using it as your primary router in the house. Except you're going to also need a switch, because you can run it with multiple outputs. It's a pain in the ass, but it's really made so that if you have multiple, if you get like a Intel, 4-port gigabit, whatever, you're going to want to run, each one of those is going to want to be like a different network or something. That'd be the way to do it. You wouldn't want to do it that way.
You can make them a switch, but it's a pain in the ass. Just get yourself a switch and get yourself a PFSense router. If you've already got like an Asus router or like a Linksys router or one of those little Soho routers, which is small office, home office for you guys.
South of Houston, dude.
Yeah, damn right. You can use that as a switch. Just turn off the WAN, turn off the DHCP, turn off pretty much everything, and then just ignore the WAN port. There's some of them allow you to turn the WAN port into a LAN port. You can just use it as a switch. That's what I did for a long time. One other thing that I saw somebody ask, and I want to answer real quick before we run away with this, is what do you think 10 gig Ethernet will become mainstream in the prosumer market? And the answer, somebody there said like 18 months, 2 years. I think prosumer market, I think it's already here on a prosumer market.
Consumer market's the thing.
But the consumer market, like an average run-of-the-mill, when you're going to have 10 gig Ethernet in your home, I'm going to say, yeah, probably like 2 years, 2 to 5 years.
I think we're already seeing a lot of 10 gig in areas that are being socialist and letting the local governments have more control over the internet. Places like Vermont and Chattanooga, Minneapolis, and that sort of thing. Those places you can all buy 10 gig for about a third or a fourth the price that Wendell is paying in Kentucky for 100 megabit.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
10 gig for a fourth the price of 100 megabit.
Makes me cry.
I'll do a little pitch here for the store and whatnot, because that's what we do.
Yeah, this is good. Store? Go buy it. That cup? Buy that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, put whiskey in those jiggers.
Look at you, hacker.
Yeah, look at that.
Do we get the...
You should buy that, and you should show Dan.
We got the Lexington...
Yeah.
God damn it. I'm a little slow. I've been drinking some scotch here. Did we get the new glasses in?
Yeah. They're there. Oh, the Glencarians?
Yeah.
They're there now. They're going to be on the website tomorrow, but we're making this video days before you're going to see it.
So by the time you see this,
special whiskey glasses.
The new whiskey glasses will be there. I'm really stoked about those because I can't wait to get a hold of them. So
people have been messaging me that these are very high quality. They haven't come in the mail yet, but I picked this glass mug. I trust John's judgment on a lot of things because I'm a stickler for quality, and so is John, the guy who does all of our merchandise. So if it's not like 1,000,000% quality, he just throws it away and never even tells me that it existed. Like sometimes we get stuff, and then a month later I'll be like, whatever happened to those glasses I was inquiring about? He goes, we got a shipment of them in. They were awful, and I got refunded and threw them away. And I'm like, thanks very much, John.
Yep.
He's like, they were just poorly made. So yeah, it's that. I really appreciate that kind of stuff. Anyway, go on there and grab some stuff if you like it. Awesome. I'm pricing this stuff for the quality as low as I possibly can, and also making sure that I can take care of John and his entire operation. and also a little bit back to us so that we can pay for a server and all that kind of stuff, just to keep us all alive. So it does a lot of different things, and yeah, thanks for grabbing stuff. We had number 7,000 yesterday, our 7,000th sale. So you guys are awesome. 7,000 people.
Yeah.
7,000. Probably some people multiple times, but yeah.
So cool.
7,000.
7,000 sale, doesn't matter. It's still sale 7,000. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
See you guys in the comments. Click on all the stuff over here just to the side of Kane. I'm not sure what that's going to be.
Just hold control and click them all.
Yeah, man. Click them all. Especially the store, man. Thank you guys for checking out all the stuff over there.
Like
you guys are awesome.
Gotta click them all.
If you don't subscribe, we haven't really pushed subscribers. You know, I feel like it's become sort of a weird thing. Everyone just like subscribe and like and bleh. I don't give a shit. Like if you like it, if you really like it, you'll make the effort. I shouldn't have to jog your memory and zap it with a cattle prod to go do shit. If you like it, subscribe. If not, you can go away. I don't care. I'm mean. I'm so mean. But listen, if you don't subscribe, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find a beaver. And I'm not talking like a woman. I'm talking like the animal that builds a goddamn.
I have a lot of them in Alaska.
Yeah,
I know where to find him.
I'm gonna find one, and I'm gonna comb him backwards. Just like comb his hair backwards until he's really upset and he looks awful. I'm gonna come to your hometown, and I'm gonna just rub your scent all over him. He's gonna be just ready when he sees you. He's just gonna be there, and all he's gonna think about is how unhappy he is that he's been combed backwards. This is not even a natural thing for a beaver to be combed backwards. And when he sees you, you're going to find out what an angry beaver can do to a person the hard way. So, without further fiddle-faddle, who says that? We went and tested these out ourselves in Shenzhen in the factory. Actually, it was in Guangdong.
Guangdong, Dongguan.
Yeah,
I can't remember which one's which.
Well, it's where you get your Dongguang and Dongguan. That's how I remember it.
True story.
It didn't really happen though, but it shouldn't have. It couldn't have happened because it's illegal. But it didn't happen. I did not go to a dong and get my dong guanged.
You're going to hell.
Somebody thought we did because they're like, "Why are a couple of white dudes going there?"
Yeah, they were like, "Where are you guys? Why are you guys going there?" We're like, "We're going
pads?
to look at mouse pads." We're like, "Oh, because that area is." Did you see the news? And we're like, "No."
I googled it immediately. CNN came up and it was like, "Yeah, people are getting their dongs guanged,"
and they're getting busted.
Yeah, they got arrested and all that. Anyway.